Hello and welcome to video number 19 for Networks and Data Security. My name is Chris. This is the second last video in the series, and well, I am just so looking forward to the end. In this video, we're going to discuss the steps necessary to ensure that customer information is protected when transmitted electronically. Now, for the purpose of this topic, we'll primarily be discussing PIPEDA and the Digital Privacy Act amendments. What does PIPEDA stand for? Why, it's the Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act, obvi. For the most part, I'm going to be reading straight from the verbiage of the Act itself. So under PIPEDA, personal information includes any factual or subjective information, recorded or not, about an identifiable individual. This includes age, name, ID numbers, income, ethnic origin, or blood type, opinions, evaluations, comments, social status, or disciplinary actions, and employee files and credit records, loan and medical records, existence of a dispute between a consumer and a merchant, and intentions like to change jobs, acquire goods or services. What is not covered by PIPEDA? I promise no singing this time. Personal information handled by the federal government, which is covered by the Privacy Act. Provincial or territorial governments and agents. Business contact information, such as an employee's name, title, business address, telephone number, or email addresses as listed. Used or disclosed solely for the purpose of communicating with that person in relation to their employment or profession. So having your business work email, work number, your name, title of position, those things are publicly identifiable. They aren't considered private, which is in direct contrast to, say, your home number, your cell number, your address, aggregates of personal information, like a greeting card list. The list itself is not covered by PIPEDA. The Personal Information Protection and Electronic Documents Act. And an organization's collection, use, or disclosure of personal information solely for journalistic, artistic, or literary purposes. Also, PIPEDA generally doesn't apply to not-for-profit and charitable organizations, political parties, and associations. Now, there have been many amendments to PIPEDA and the Privacy Act made by the Digital Privacy Act, which came into effect June of 2015. This act primarily covers valid consent. Now, according to this, consent is considered valid only if it is reasonable to expect that individuals to whom an organization's activities are directed would understand the nature, purpose, and consequences of the collection, use, or disclosure to which they are consenting. Sort of like those EULAs that everybody just goes, yeah, fine, I accept. To click next to go through an installation. The entire agreement that when you buy a new car, and the agreement is, 20 pages long for liability and damages and that sort of thing. Accepting an agreement like that, especially when in a specific time frame of mind, when something should only take you, say, 5 seconds, but the EULA would take you 20 minutes to read, or an installation or agreement that you have, say, 5 minutes to accept if you're going to, but a 50-page agreement. It is unreasonable and unfeasible for a person to read through everything that they're supposed to in the time amount or the allotment given, which is why there have been some people have lashed back. Some have made charges or countersued against the claims and terms of these agreements when something like that came up, like when there was a problem. So, like, for example, somebody who bought a car and had this big agreement, but they weren't giving her enough time to actually read through the agreement. She signed. Well, then something came up when it came to like an insurance claim and whatnot. Now, the claim itself was in direct contradiction to the terms that she agreed to when it came to the liability on the seller's part, and she was able to successfully fight this in court. The argument being that no person would have the reasonable amount of time required to not only read this agreement, but to understand it. Having a lawyer draft something up to make it legally binding, great, everybody does it. Businesses to people, divorces and settlements and things like that. But unless you have legal counsel, the average person walking around isn't going to understand the ramifications or the gravity of some of these agreements. And it's becoming easier and easier for the general consumer to have a leg to stand on when things don't work out, or when they have some kind of gripe or grievance against it. Now, of course, as with anything, there are some exceptions. Valid consent is excluded from the following situations or circumstances. Investigations into fraud detection and prevention, business transactions, witness statements and insurance claims, identifying the injured, ill, or deceased, or communicating with the next of kin, financial abuse, employment relationships in federally regulated workplaces, personal information produced in the course of employment, business, or profession. Now, all things considered, these acts are there to protect the consumer, the worker, the business, and you. To protect your information, your confidentiality, your privacy. Usually people say privacy and confidentiality. Flip that around because I'm fun like that. But it's to give you as a consumer in the digital world more rights than you've ever had before. If not carry the common and assumed rights that every consumer used to have forward into the realm of digital media. That wraps things up for video number 19 for networks and data security. Again, my name is Chris. The next video is the last video. This video is going to cover legal and legislative requirements when securing information. I don't really know if I want to wear a different tie for it or not. I mean, this one's really tight, but it's kind of grown on me. All right, yeah, no, you did well. Thank you for picking this one up. It's very gray, much like my disposition on most things in life. Thank you for knowing me so well. All right, hey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.